Hello everyone, let's get started. Last week we saw Krishna started his dialogue with a gentle smile on his face. He wanted to make sure that the advice that he was about to give reaches Arjuna without any difficulties, even though the concepts that he was going to explain was hard enough to understand. He was just putting Arjuna to at ease. And so he just started off the conversation or advice with a gentle smile on his face. The first shloka that ever Krishna is going to say is what we are going to start looking at. And all these shlokas that we saw until last week are more like an introduction or just to set the context, so to say, so that we get what is happening in the battlefield and how this Bhagavad Gita actually started. Right? Why is it and who is it for, and how we can translate the meanings and apply to our life. That was the foreword all along. Now, starting from today, this week, we are going to enjoy the meanings of actual advice that Krishna gave as part of Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna. The first shloka is in chapter 2, verse 11. श्रीभगवानुवाच अशोच्यानन्वशोचस्त्वं प्रज्ञावादांश्च भाषसे गतासु न गतासूंश्च नानुशोचन्ति पंडिताः. Now in this shloka, Krishna says that, dear Arjuna, you are getting worried for no reason at all, for things that should not disturb you. Is you are worried about those things. Just put that off your mind. And earlier you spoke very intelligently. Prajna vadams cha bhashase. That means that you spoke very intelligently, words of wisdom. But also looks like you are worried about things that doesn't even deserve any grief. That was the first part of the shloka. The second part of the shloka, Krishna says, Gatasu nagatasunscha nanusochanti panditaha. Great people, intelligent people, smart people will not worry about what is living and what is dead, what is lifeless and what is lifeful. They always know the difference between the two. They won't worry about it. Now let's understand this little bit in deep. Krishna was trying to say that you are just putting your mind and worried about, worked up a lot about a thing which doesn't even deserve any attention. What is that thing that he is referring to here? In the second part of it, he says about two things. One is lifeless and the other one is lifeful. Pandita, who are experts, they always know about it. What is lifeless and what is lifeful that he is referring to here is what we are going to understand today. Word by word, if we go, let's understand it better. This shloka, Ashocyan, anything that doesn't deserve any worries, or that is not meant to be worried, is Ashocyan. Anvashochastvam. Tvam is you. Anvashochaha. is you are worried about that which doesn't deserve any attention at all or worries at all. Prajna is intelligence. Vadan is words. Words of intelligence or words of wisdom. Bhasha say you are speaking. You are speaking as if you are very intelligent. But how come you just pay attention to some trivial thing that doesn't even needs any worries at all? And then the next word, gata soon. Asu means full of life. Gatasu means that is lifeless. And then next word is agatasu. Agatasu is just opposite of gatasu. That is full of life. Na anushochanti. Anushochanti is to give importance. Na anushochanti is don't give importance. That is not worth. Who will not give importance to it? Panditaha. Panditaha means experts in the field of spirituality. They will not even worry about these things. Pandita are the ones, the intelligence are the ones who can discriminate right from wrong. They will not just believe whatever that they hear. They will process the information and decide to themselves what is right and what is wrong. They are called Pandita. And those intelligent, smart people will not worry about lifeless and life full things in this world. Whether it is living or dead, they don't bother. Now, we got to do a lot of understanding around this. I would suggest that if you are in the middle of something and listening, if you are working and listening, or if you are just walking, jogging, doing, and then listening to this, I would strongly recommend to sit down and pay close attention to this, because once we get the meaning, true meaning of what Krishna is trying to say in this verse, then probably we would not have to make so much efforts in understanding rest of the verses. It's so simple, so beautiful, so amazingly put. He opens up with such a great aspect of life. Now let's see what he says. Now if you look at it, what is our identity? An identity is, who am I? This who am I? This question lingers in everyone's mind. Your mind, my mind, and everyone around who is really aware of things happening around us. What is it that is happening around us? Why at times we are happy, at times we are bothered by external events, and I'm angry at times, I'm mad at others. At the same time, I'm also happy and grateful to others. What is it, all these things around me is something that we are not able to clearly fix or identify, right? That is one. The other aspect is, what actually defines me? Who truly am I? Is it just my name? For example, if you ask me, who are you? I will just say my name is Partha. But then Partha is just an identification, right? A label that my parents gave to me so that others can, in this world, identify me. Oh, that is Partha he's going. And they will address me that, hey, Partha. That is the usefulness of this name. Other than that, there is nothing else beyond that. And any other name, I would be who I am today, right? So name is not a great identifier that I'll associate with. What else? Status, position. For example, I'm the president of the Rotaract Club, or I'm the mayor of the city, or any such thing. I'm employed in this organization as a software engineer. Is that my identification? That many of us have some identification, right? We all are involved in that. And is it okay to say that if anyone asks, who are you? Oh, yeah, I work for this company. Is that my identification? I don't think so, because that is just temporary. It just started 2 years ago, probably 3 years ago. Tomorrow, I'm not even sure whether I'll work for that company. I'll move to another company, and so on, right? So my identity is not fixed to that. And I should not say that, okay, I am this company and that is my identity. That doesn't identify me truly. Then what else? As we do this exercise, I request you all to ask this question to yourself. What is it that truly identifies you? Just think about it, right? So what is it that, am I, I can say that I am a father of two, or I am an husband of so and so. Is that really an identity? That is not a fixed identity. I'm an uncle, I'm a father, I may become a grandpa, right? I'm a brother, and so on. So that is also not fixed identity. That doesn't define who I am truly inside me, right? So then what else? What else can define me? Then people will just finally say that, no, I'm not this, I'm not my name, I'm not my status, I'm not this, I'm not that. Finally we end up with, okay, I'm going to say that I'm this body of mine, right? This body is just me. But if we go with that idea that I'm this body, nobody says that I'm this body, but everyone will say that this is my body, right? Even in the normal usage, we never say that I'm this body. We always say this is my body. So what does that mean? Any belonging, this is my body, this is my phone, this is my laptop, or this is my car. What does it mean? They are all belongings, right? So that uh, leads me to the conclusion that this body is just my belonging, and that is not me, isn't it? Whenever I say this is my body, it doesn't go well. I have this body is mine. That goes well. So that clearly shows that this body is also just like any other object that belongs to me. So I cannot say that this body is me. I cannot identify this body as me. When I say I am going to do this, I cannot identify this body as that I, right? Then who is that I who is just speaking to you right now, right? Then people will say that, okay, the mind, the thoughts in the mind, the memory, the living experience that we had so far, that is I. That defines I, and that is my identity, right? Or this all this intelligence is that I. Let's go one by one and then see whether it is really true or not, right? Now, this memory, what is this memory? If you look at it, they are the lived experience, right? Several occasions I've been having a lot of experience from this world, and I'm just registering it in my memory, and that will make to talk or behave the way that I am. And so can I say that memory is what I am truly? Or if you look at it, many people who have memory loss, temporary memory loss, they also live, right? They also walk in this world, but they have some kind of an accident, let's say, and they lost all their memory, partial memory loss. We hear about that, right? Still they live. So if it were truly that memory what made them who they are, they should have been dead by that time once they lose their memory, because that identity of their I is still there, even though they lost all the memory of past childhood experiences, whatever experiences they had. So I don't think memory is neither the identity of who I am. Now people might say that my intelligence is my identity. The I is from my intelligence. Now if you look at intelligence, intelligence is developed, isn't it? Since when we are young, we observed things, we listened to, we watched few things happen, and then we build it slowly. But then, before that, what happened? Before we built all our intelligence, we still was existing. We were existing, right? As a human being or as an individual. So, intelligence seems to be not defining that I. Intelligence is very, the intelligence that I have today, tomorrow I will revise it. So that is not who I am. Right? Again, that also goes for a toss. Now what else is there beyond this? I have ruled out my status, I have ruled out my name, I have ruled out my relationship with others, I have ruled out this body, I have ruled out this whole body of mine as not to be me. And I have ruled out the mind inside me, the memory it contains, the intelligence it contains, the thoughts. Some people will say that thoughts are me. Right? Whatever thoughts that run inside me is defines who I am, will define who I am. Now, thoughts can vary, fluctuate, right? Some thought, and by practice, there are yogis who can, just not necessarily yogis, even normal people like you and I can by practice zero our thoughts, sit in the meditation where there is no thought at all, but still that I feeling, I am, that feeling is still there, right? So thoughts, if thoughts were the ones, then if all thoughts go away, then that I am thought should also go away, right? That seems to be not going. So that means that thought is also not the definition of I, right? It doesn't identify who I am. Now what else is left? We have ruled out thoughts also. Now once you, just like peeling the layers of an onion, we took off one by one after the other, right? What is left? What are we left with? Whatever that we are left with is that I. And that I, as it is described, right? It has to be only experienced. We cannot see with that eyes, because eyes are again not that I. That I can only be experienced. So that I is nothing but the divine power that is put in right inside me. That super divine power is right inside me. And that divine power is the identification for me. That divine power always makes me run my life. Now, for example, how to understand that divine power right inside us. Now, unlike any other religion, Hinduism, we say that that divinity of God is right, not outside, it's right inside every individual. Every one of us have that divine power. Now, how to identify that divine? Why is it that divine power is not visible to us? And why are we not experiencing? If such a divine power is there right inside me, why should I go through all the troubles of everyday life? Right? That's what we ask. Now, let's understand one after the other. We have we all have experience about watching trains, right? A train, an express train in India, to be more specific, right? If you look at a train has a head and several compartments attached to it, right? The head will always be an engine. Either it can be a steam engine or it can be a fuel driven engine, a petrol driven engine. But it is an engine that pulls the compartments. There can be hundreds of such compartments, but engine will be mostly one or two, right? Mostly, let's take it as one. One is just enough. A train runs. When a train runs and you watch it, a train running, the compartments are having anything to do with that? No. Only the engine runs, and with that power of the engine, it pulls the entire list of compartments, entire train of compartments along with it. Isn't it? That same thing is true. When I am existing, when I'm living, I'm walking, I'm going, I'm doing work, that divine power inside me is the one that is doing the job for me. Rest of the things are all my body, my hands, my legs, my rest, even including eyes, ears, mouth, the entire body, heart, lungs, they all follow through just like the compartments of a train. And that divine power inside me is the one that runs the show, right? Another way to understand this, let's put it in a different way. Every human being has two forms of identity, one, at least two forms of identity by this description. One is the Sthula Sharira, which is the external body, they call it. And then the next one is the Sukshma Sharira, which is the divine power inside us. And every one of us have that, right? Sthula and Sukshma, two levels of existence at least. Now, what does that goes to mean? Sthula Sharira is what we could see externally, and Sukshma Sharira is the one truly who we are inside, right? And that Sukshma Sharira is having the divine power. That's what we saw, right? That's what we understand from the Vedas, that Sukshma Sharira clearly identifies me. Now, why we are not able to really recognize that, we will see that shortly. But now, with that Sukshma Sharira that I have, the Atma inside me, right, which is identifying me clearly to be who I am, that divine power has a direct link to another level. Now, all this body has got a Sthula, and inside that there is a Sukshma. Is that all about this entire world or universe? It's just made of Sthula and Sukshma inside everyone? Yes and no. Let's understand this. Now, there is a few things called in physics, if you have read about physics or even research, people talk about what is called a principle of induction. What that means is, if anything that can be observed at smaller level, you can extrapolate it at a larger level. You don't have to do that same experiment for millions of cases. It is enough if you observe that in 2 or 3 smaller level of experiment. If you perform it, it is true, then it should be true at a larger level also. So now, if we see that the Sthula and Sukshma, there is a body, and inside the body there is a Sukshma called divine power, and that is also called Atman, inside every human being, right? Inside every human being there is a body and a Sukshma called Atma. If that is all we all are, then that must be true at the bigger level also, at a larger level also. What does that mean? At a small level, at an individual level, I have a body and I have an Atman. That Atman is the divine power, right? Two things. Now, at a larger level, what do I see? What I see, or you see, is the entire universe, right? So, just look at this entire universe as the body. Just imagine this entire universe is a body. So there must be a Sukshma Sarira for that body, right? If every body, inside every body, if there is a Sukshma Sarira called Atman, then there inside this entire universe, which is just one body, there must be a Sukshma Sarira. And that Sukshma Sarira is what is called Brahman. And that is the super divine power. And that is what we call it as God, that runs the entire show of this universe, whatever that is happening in this world. So, two things to be remembered. One is, at my level, I have a body and a Sukshma Sharira, which is my Atman, which is the I identity truly. If I can see inside me a body and a Atman, I should see the same thing at a huge, bigger level. And yes, I see the body, which is this entire universe, and there must be an Atman inside for this entire universe, and that is called the Brahman or Sriman Narayana or Lord Vishnu or any name you give. Just think about it. Whatever energy that we have, are we able to see it? No. So likewise, but that is the one that is driving us through this entire life, right? Whatever that we do, whatever that we experience, that is one who is experiencing it. For example, you see, uh, you have a fruit on your hand, and you enjoy that fruit. Who is enjoying that fruit? Just think about it. We don't think about all those things. We don't do such experiments. Once we get a fruit, we are hungry, we will just eat it, right? We won't even mind. Who cares? It's like fruit is great. Why do why to care about so much of, why go so much, take so much trouble identifying whether I'm eating or body is eating, right? But such should be the experimental mind of a seeker, a true seeker of knowledge, especially a true student of Sri Krishna. Krishna would advise us to be to be inquisitive, ask everything, and he has explanation. Who said that spirituality or you know divinity is all about belief? It is about experimentation. He's going to give proof for everything that he is uttering, right? So let's take a fruit on hand. What is this fruit? The fruit is an object that is being experienced, right? We are going to, it's being experienced. An object being experienced is fruit. Now what is this body? The body is an instrument or an apparatus that is helping this object called fruit to experience. And who is experiencing it? That is I. The one who is experiencing that object, experienced object, by using this body as a tool is me, right? So that every one of you can actually relate that one easily, where there is a body inside, in between the I identity and the external world, right? It is not that easy, but by practice we have been told that we will slowly experience that, but we are able to at least appreciate that there is one thing that is inside us that is definitely not any of these rest of the things, right? So now, having identified that what is that Atman, and also known that there is a Brahman out there, what is the next step that we should be doing? It's quite natural, right, to understand or ask the question, what is the relationship between this Atman inside me and the Brahman out there, right? The Brahman out there is a super duper divinity life, and that drives the entire universe, and we all are inside that universe, and we, each one of us, have that super small divine power inside us. Now the question is, what should we do having known this? Now this knowledge is called that pandita. Pandita will know the difference. Not all will know the difference between Atman and body. First thing, most of us think that the body is our Atma, I am body, right? And then we pamper this body as much as we wanted to, in terms of eating, in terms of watching, in terms of enjoying, in terms of luxury, right? Pampering ourselves. We think that we are pampering ourselves, but we are just pampering our body. And that is the reason that after finishing everything, we are left with a void. That looks like that's not it. And then move on to the next thing and then enjoy. Looks like that's not it. That is because the true satisfier inside us is not satisfied with these mere experiences. Only the body is satisfied with that, and the body is happy for a few seconds or few moments. After that, it wants to get a different experience. That is the nature of the body. Now let's understand the difference between the body and that Atman. What is so great about that divinity inside of us anyway, right? That's a question that we will all have. And how does that knowledge help? Okay, fine. Many people are living without knowing the difference between body and the Atman, the divine power that we talk about. What is so big deal about it, right? Now, one thing is this body is made up of varying things. One, the color of the hair changes as we grow older. The very body gets weakened as we get older and older. Vision diminishes, hearing capability reduces, right? And our that is the property, characteristics of this body. Everything will there will be an increase and there will be a decrease. There will be a growth and there will be a decay that will be associated with this body. Anything that is impermanent will have these properties. It will be born, it will grow, and it will decay, and it will destroy, and it will just vanish. That is the property of anything in this world that is impermanent. But Atman, the divinity, is no such thing. It doesn't know any characteristics of born, grow, decay, vanish. That property is not at all associated with that divine power. How can we understand that? The train example that we saw, right? The engine was our Atman. Just think about it as engine as an Atman. That engine was just pulling all the compartments and it reaches a destination station, junction. Let's call it as some Calcutta junction, right? It reached the destination. Once it reaches the destination, if you had observed, the engine will be rotated and it will be turned into the platform and it will be attached to another new set of compartments and it will be sent on its way to a new destination. So the engine that was just pulling a different set of compartments is now turning away and pulling another different set of compartments and leaving to a different destination. And then from there, that engine will be attached to a totally different set of compartments and it will go elsewhere, right? The same way, Krishna is going to say, the same way our divinity inside us never dies, even though this body just drops itself. The beauty is, when you look at it, the Sthula Sarira is our physical body, right? Sukshma Sarira is our Atman. We can't, Sukshma is like one that cannot be seen or touched physically, right? That is there right inside of us. Who do you think is holding what? Is Sthula Sarira is holding the Sukshma or Sukshma is holding the Sthula? Just, think about it. You're just, you know how people dry up clothes outside, right? There will be a thread that runs from either end and they will put a cloth around it and you put clips on it. The clips are supposed to be holding the cloth even though the cloth itself may be longer, right? Now what is holding what? The cloth is holding the clip or the clip is holding the cloth? The clip is holding the cloth because you can experiment it by just releasing the clip, cloth will fall down. But even when you just drag that cloth from under, the clip will stay intact on that thread, right, on that rope. So that clearly shows that how to do the experiment and how to decide who is holding what. The same experiment, if you look at it, towards the end of the life, when that Atman leaves this body falls down. So now you know that Atman, that divine power was holding this body for so long. right? Even we observe it in everyday situation, right? That Ram Gopal Verma, anything, any name. Let's say a friend, a friend's dad. His name is Ram Gopal, let's say. You just ask your friend, hey, is your dad, he was not feeling well. Did you rush him to the hospital? Then he would say that yes, 2 hours ago we just reached hospital and dad is doing good. And he puts him into ICU. After 2 hours, unfortunately, he didn't survive. He didn't live. And so you also know about it. Now we ask that person, is the body reached home? Next question is, we don't even ask Ram Gopal reached home. Once that divine power goes outside of the body, it loses its respect, right? That is the power. Once it leaves this body, body is just falls down. And so our identity absolutely can never be this body. That itself also makes it very clear, right? So now the next question is, why is it that we are not able to observe that divine power inside us? You're going to get answer to this. We're going to get answers to this in the next several verses starting from this. But one good thing is, the rishis, yogis, the great spiritualists that you hear about, who sit in Himalayas and then meditate upon years after years, all they are doing is to try to identify the experience that divine Atman inside them. How can I realize that Atman? Why are they doing it? They don't have any other work to do. They are experimentalists. They wanted to experiment. What happens if I just experience that? Who is that I truly? Who is just void of anger, void of likes and dislikes? Because once that Atman, if you look at it, that Atman doesn't know man or woman, right? There is no difference at that level. At the divinity level, there is no difference between what sex one belongs to, what age is one is, because that doesn't have any age at all. That doesn't have any birth, it doesn't have any death. All it knows is go from one body to other body. Once this body reaches its old age, die and go into another body, and die, get into another body. That is how it goes from one body to other body, and there is no difference at all. And so at that level, man and woman are one and the same. The same soul that is there inside me is inside my wife also. There is no difference at all. The difference is only a physical difference at the sthula sharira level, at the body level, and never at the sukshma level, right? And that is how our great people always say that all people are made equal, right? Not we know, we hear that from many politicians and all. I'm not saying at that level, but truthfully, if you look at it from that divine power inside us, then all people are made definitely equal. And even at least outside world will accept, minimum two groups, group of men and group of women. But even we don't even split that into two, it is one always. So all those yogis and sadhus and everyone who are residing, they wanted to attain that state of Atman, or divinity inside them. Discover that divinity is their only goal in life. And whatever that Vishnu Sahasranama, that, and also Lalita Sahasranama, what is it that all the, have you ever wondered what is Lalita Sahasranama? 1000 names, that is fine. Is it just okay if I say every day 1000 names recited? Is that just will do good to me? It will definitely do good to us, but is that all enough? Or what does that actually mean? The greatness, right? Each name specifies the greatness. Hey Mata, you are great in terms of compassion. Who is that Hey Mata? That Hey Mata is none other than that Brahman, that Sukshma of this entire universe. And why are we saying that to her? Because is it anything that Lalita or Mahalakshmi doesn't know about that? That we are reminding her? Are they going to be happy with us and say that, oh yeah, praise me more, I will bless you, Lord? Is that the reason that we are reciting the slokas? No. The reason that we are reciting Lalita Sahasranama, Vishnu Sahasranama is to remind ourselves that my Atman inside is also as compassionate as that, yours. Right? I should bring that up. I should bring out the compassion. I should bring out that braveness that you have. Right? You have such a braveness. I should reflect that because inside my body I have that divinity, and that divinity and the great divinity that you have are on and the same at the same level. See, God has given that power, a part of that power, to every individual inside us, and in that piece of divinity we have every good qualities, auspicious qualities of God inside us. That includes compassion, braveness, or to respect others, or to own responsibility and act, and also to reach out and help others, honesty, truthfulness, calmness, peacefulness, you name it. All those 1000 names is just a reminder to us that we all can experience that. Right? Every time we recite Vishnu Sahasranama, that is why when we recite the names with meanings, then we will appreciate that we have such thing. That is the only way to bring out our own divinity. Right? The purpose of life. We have been going around, right? Many people are going around looking out for purpose of life. There can be only one purpose: to just identify and discover who I am and what is that divine power that has been put inside me. And Vedas, all the Vedas, four Vedas, they talk only about one thing, or probably two things. One is our Atman, second one is about Brahman. The entire Mahabharatam is written to educate people about these two things. One is Atman, second one is Brahman. That Atman is Arjuna, Brahman is Krishna. Such a simple thing, right? If you have eaten this Puran Poli, so they will do that dough, and then they will put the sweet thing inside. I love it very much. They put it and then they roll it up, right? So same way that Puran is nothing but the meat of the whole thing, right? Same way our great Valmiki and our Acharyas have created stories of Mahabharata, Ramayana and everything. Inside that they have placed that Puran, right? But everything is looks like a story. If you look at it as a story, for normal eyes it will be story, but inside there is a strong message to make us all understand the difference between Atman and Brahman, and there should be a association. What is that? Once we know it, okay, I'm Atman, you are Brahman, story doesn't end there. A person who is just thinking all along, let's put it this way, person all along thinking that this body is me, just living. I know that we all have been living that kind of life, and nothing to blame anyone or to look down upon anyone. But if we are living a life, we're not at all bothered about Atman, and then just body is my identity, right? That is one level. If you look at it, the moment anyone looks at it like, oh, there is a thing called Atma inside me, and that is also inside me, it's not outside. And I have to know about it, discover about it, and I should just dissolve myself into that. And one who is trying to do that is next level of progress, and one who has attempted and successfully done that, where his thought is directed totally into that Atman inside and he dissolved. So once that thought is dissolved into that Atman, then where is who is, there won't be any talk or there won't be any speech, right? So that is the purity. Once that divinity is also full of happiness, it is not about in Lalita Sahasranama, I'm sure that you will have names that describes about happiness, right? True Satyam Jnanam Anantam Nityam, right? That is what is true for all Vishnu or Lakshmi. Truthfulness, happiness, and intelligence. These three will be, is not will be, this three is always inside us. The truthfulness, happiness, and intelligence, absolute intelligence, intelligence about the entire world is right inside us. It's just that we haven't experienced it. A little bit of here and there intelligence just sparks out, and that is why we see some people or even ourselves to be smart and doing few things good and we are happy about it, right? A little bit of it. Why is it that we are not able to see that fully? Is because of our clouded actions. The actions that we have done, we have planted in our mind so much of thoughts, thoughts that are preventing us from seeing the truth to ourselves. They are not showing it, they are just like a dark cloud. We are not able to see the rays of sun. Clouds are just clouding. Right? Only by practice, by defogging, or what do you call that, fumigating, or removing that clouded thoughts inside us, that light is good, that light will show up. And that effort is what every one of us have to make. And this entire Bhagavad Gita is all about this. He's going to now give lectures on how to defog or how to fumigate our house, inner house. This is all our inner house. All the phenomenon, the great phenomenon, if you look at it, peacefulness or happiness, they have no outside meaning. So can you just look at it outside and then say that, oh yeah, happiness is this? No, happiness is always inside. The reason is, let's say I lost my dad. On that day, next to my house, people were all very happy and then they went around and went to the amusement park. And I see that they are going to the amusement park. Do you think that that is happy? To them it is happy, but to me, that was not happy. Right? So now, happiness is inside me. It's not outside. Just because I see amusement park, just because I see few things, it doesn't make me happy. All the great phenomenon of life that we experience is in our inner world, a world that we have built inside us or we will build using this new knowledge, right? We can recreate our own world inside. That world is the only world that is truthful. The outside world that we see is not, it's just an interpreted world, right? What we have inside us is the truth. And so that is what in this verse now Krishna is trying to say, that Arjuna, gatasun agatasuncha nanushoshanti panditaha. Gatasun is what he says is dying, lifeless. This body is lifeless. Agatasun, this Atman is full of life. There is no death to it at all. And great people will never worry about it, Arjuna. Why are you worried about it? And he moves on to the next verse saying this. नत्वेवाहं जातु नासं न त्वं नेमे जनाधिपाः न चैव न भविष्यामः सर्वे वयमतः परम् नत्वेवाहं जातु नासं. What he says is, there was never a time in the past wherein I was not there, you were not there, they all were not there. They all meaning here the people who are standing in the army. Now Arjuna was saying that these people, I will, if I shoot my arrows, they will all die. That is what his problem was, right? Now Krishna is saying that don't think that all these people, you and me included, were not there. There was a time in the past where we were not there. The meaning is, we always were there. I was there, you were there, they all were there living. And it's not going to happen in future also, that there will be after 100 years, you will not be there, I will not be there, they all will not be there. Don't think that way. Now Arjuna is like, wait a minute, Krishna, I think I don't understand it. How is it that because after 50 years or 60 years I will have to die, all these people have to die? But what you are saying is, we all have been living forever in the past and we will live forever in the future also. How is it that possible? That is why Krishna is saying that I am talking here about your Atman. Your Atman, my Atman, his Atman, we all were, all these Atman were there forever. They were unchanging, they undying, they were unborn. They can never be, a thing can die only when it is born. But your Atman was never born to start with. The first place, it was never born. And that is, it always existed. We always were there. And that is the reason death is impossible to your Atma. That is what he is saying. And the reason that he is saying first, na tu eva natve vaham, na tu eva aham jatu, na asam, means that there is natu eva aham. He puts the hand on his chest and he says that aham. It's not that I was not there in the past. Jatu, in the past. Na asam, didn't exist. Not that I didn't exist in the past. He says that. The reason that he is taking himself as an example in the first place is that whenever you want to explain few things, you will have to take a standing example, right? For people to understand. Otherwise, if the example itself is so hard to understand, then how will they understand the rest of the things? He says that, Arjuna, you know me very well. I was called in this world as God. And no one can deny that God always existed. God was there in the past, God was there God will be there in the future, and God is present right now. Right? That is why he's taking himself as the example. Just like me, Arjuna, how I am life or deathless. Every one of us in this world is deathless. Every one of our Atman doesn't know anything called death. Right? And then the last verse he says, not last verse for today. He says that Dehinosmin yatha dehe kaumaram yavvanam jara tatha dehantara praptihi dhirastatra na muhyati. Just like how this Dehi is this Atma, Deha is this body. So Dehino Asmin Yatha Dehe. Dehe is our body. Inside this body, this Dehi is sitting. Dehi is our Atman. And this body is going through Kaumaram, Yavvanam, and Jara, which is childhood, youth, and old age. He travels, right? That Atman is traveling with this body through these phases of life. Same way, Tatha, same way, Dehantara. Dehantara is once this body becomes old and it dies, Dehantara, it gets another body. Dehantara is other body, right? Prap, Dehantara praptihi. Dhirastatra na muhya dhiraha. Dhira is one who is strong minded, who is smart again, intelligent, who understands this. He never gets worried about all this business of being born and dying. He doesn't see all these things, Arjuna. And you should be a dhiraha. If you understand the difference between the body and the body and your Atman, you will not care about it. It is just like you should be in fact happy. For example, in our world, if you look at it, they get a birthday, they people seem to be not worried about it. 50 years, 55, 55th year birthday, 60th birthday, they are even more happy, they are celebrating it, right? 80th birthday, they are even more happy. But death, Krishna is saying that once it is death, don't have to worry, because it is just going to get a younger body, going to be born as a young again. It's going to start like childhood, youth, and it goes on and on. So why should you even worry about it? That is his point here. And so with that, we come to the end of this week's session. In the next few weeks, we're going to enjoy even more meanings based out of this Atman. Let's see more of it. Sriyah Kantaya Kalyana Nidaye Nidayethinam Sri Venkata Nivasaya Srinivasaya Mangalam. Sarvam Sri Krishnarpanamastu. See you all next session.